Hello, friends, and welcome to the show. So, walls for me, but not for thee. But before we get started, how about you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please leave a comment down below. It helps with the algorithm. Let's get started. From BBC News, President Biden cancels funding for Trump border wall. CNN Politics, congressional leaders discussing a $2 billion package for new Capitol fencing and security personnel. So, just remember, it's not a good idea to waste money at the border because it's not like we're catching terrorists there after we've caught 4 so far. But we're going to waste money on building a wall at the Capitol, even though there's no threat outside of CNN paid for domestic terrorists. So perhaps we should reassess our priorities. Perhaps we should focus on what's actually going on geopolitically because we're under threats of terrorist attack from Iran. Iran has basically threatened us with USS Cole-style attacks, and I'll cover that here in a second. From Jack Posobiec, Capitol Police to remove fencing admitting no credible threat against Congress. So what I think happened here, to be honest, I think Congress wanted to see what they can get away with. And what I believe Capitol Police wanted to see what they can get away with. Because, think about it, just stick with me here for a second. It's kind of going along the lines with COVID-19. The conspiracy theories revolving around COVID-19, where you have this virus that comes out and you're told not to wear a mask. Dr. Fauci comes out and says, don't wear a mask. So people say, don't wear a mask. And if you wear a mask, you're a crazy person. And then you see a bunch of right-wingers go, no, we've seen this before. We're going to get masks because we've seen this before. We've seen this movie. And they're called conspiracy theorists. Then fast forward a month, Dr. Fauci says, well, I lied. We wanted to make sure that we had enough PPE for people in hospitals. So you need to wear masks now. And then right-wingers get fairly upset from having been lied to. Now they know that you're willing to lie about public health. Then you have left-wingers pretend like he never lied to begin with. So that's why you have people like me say Democrats are low information voters. They only can remember what they were last told by CNN. And then they say, well, 2 masks. Well, there's no evidence for 2 masks. And then they say, well, now there's finally evidence to wear 2 masks. Don't take that vaccine because Trump will cut corners. It will be unsafe. We need to independently verify that it is a safe vaccine. That's what Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Andrew Cuomo, Gavin Newsom, all these high-profile Democrats were all saying this vaccine would not be safe. So what happens? Joe Biden wins the election, the vaccine comes out, and everybody has to take the vaccine now. But I'm old enough to remember when you told me that it wasn't going to... shut up. It doesn't matter. Are you an anti-vaxxer? No, you have to take the vaccine. Well, you told me what... Shut up. I told you to take the vaccine. The gaslighting of the low information voter is criminal, in my opinion. And then they say, well, you have to take the vaccine. And they're like, all right, great, Mr. Biden, I just had my vaccine. So can I take off my mask? No, you can't take off your mask. Can I go see my family? No, you can't see your family. Can I go travel? No, you can't go travel. Can I stop social distancing? No, you can't stop social distancing. Can I go to the bar? No, you can't go to the bar. So why am I taking a vaccine? Right? It doesn't. So they're seeing what they can get away with. They're seeing how much the American people will take before they snap. Just like Congress is seeing how much the American people will take as a show of force from the Capitol before they snap, before they say, that's fascism, that's authoritarianism, that's a militarized state. That is not what democracy looks like. That's what totalitarianism looks like. Because if you have to defend your capital with an army because the people are so unhappy with you, then perhaps you were not democratically elected because you're corrupt. There's plenty of corruption going on in Washington, D.C. You need look no further than Eric Swalwell having sexual relations with a Chinese spy and the Democrats saying, No, he can remain on the House Intel Committee. And you have Republicans saying, you're kicking off people for spreading conspiracy theories and apologizing for it. Yet you have a guy who had relations with a Chinese spy who showed such poor judgment that he fell into the honeypot. And you want to have him or allow him access to the most sensitive information that the United States has to offer? Do you not see a double standard there? And not only that, if you're willing to look the other way when it comes to that, what else are you willing to look the other way on? That's what concerns me personally, because my wife is from Mexico. When I renewed my security clearance, it was a pain in the butt because she's a foreign national. How is this guy able to have relations with a Chinese spy? Not just a relationship with someone from China, but a Chinese spy. Her job was to spy on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party. And he can still maintain a security clearance. He still has access to top secret information. He still sits on that House Intel Committee. You can go F yourselves, Democrats, because you stand for nothing. If you can't stand for national intelligence and they want to limit Donald Trump's presidential briefs like every other president receives, and they say, oh, because he's a threat to national security. Well, if he's a threat to national security, then Eric Swalwell has to be a threat because Donald Trump isn't sleeping with Chinese spies. Eric Swalwell is sleeping with Chinese spies. So let's play a game of who's a bigger threat to national security, shall we? From Politico, a particularly disturbing report on Sunday revealed that Iran's paramilitary forces threatened to launch waterborne USS Cole-style attacks on Fort McNair along the southwest D.C. waterfront. So good thing we stopped building a border wall. Good thing we've caught 4 terrorists, identified terrorists at the southern border of the United States with this influx of immigration, with this influx of illegal immigration. And now they're disclosing, now the United States is disclosing that Iran is threatening the United States in Washington, D.C. with bombing boats. It's bananas, guys. It's bananas what's going on. This, we're just going to be blind to what's happening in front of us because it doesn't necessarily fit the narrative is disgusting. From Jack Murphy, China and the U.S. have something in common. Childless men with no families. Young male virginity on the rise. Share of men under age 30 who report 0 female sex partners since they turned 18. So from 1989 was 7%. I feel sorry for those poor bastards. And 2018 is at a, Jesus, 27%. 1 in 3 men under 30 have 0 female sex partners. Well, I'd assume they don't count gay people in this, but this is, I don't know how you don't take your, guys, come on. If you need help picking up the ladies, there's like websites and there's books and you just got to work on your confidence and talk to people. That's all you got to do. Put down the video games, right? Get off the interwebs, go to a bar, order a whiskey and water or a whiskey and soda. That's what I order. And have a conversation with people. It's not that hard. You just got to talk. I just start off with, hey, I'm Anthony. How are you doing? It's really as simple as that. Maybe I should write a $1 million book. Maybe. It's just, hey, my name is Wally. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. 27%, 1 in 3, nearly 1 in 3 men under the age of 30, 0 female sex partners in the age of Tinder. This is bananas. Oh my God, guys, this is bananas. Unacceptable, men. Unacceptable. From Elijah Schaefer, Instagram is deleting the video of Biden falling for incitement of violence. Real Ashley St. Clair, your story goes against our community guidelines. We removed your story because it goes against our community guidelines. We created these guidelines to support and protect our community on Instagram. The story was removed for violence and incitement. That's the video of Joe Biden falling 3 times when his leg went limp noodle. And I don't believe that was the Donald Trump meme. I believe that was just the video of Joe Biden falling down the stairs. And people need to know what's going on because that's important. Your president is falling. Your president is weak. And the rest of the world knows it. So why can't America know it? The rest of the world knows Joe Biden is a weak, stupid man who cannot remember anything. Yet CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS possibly said that, bunch of acronyms, they all pretend like there's nothing to see here. That is wrong. People need to know what's going on. I'm not saying to black pill the American population, but they need to understand geopolitically where America is standing. We have a weak president. By being naive, by thinking Joe Biden is strong. Just the other day, I have a friend who's still in the military. He was blue-pilled. He was blue-pilled hard. When I met him, he was one of those Christian nut jobs who would hand out Bibles to everybody. If you're one of those people, good on you. But he really pushed it. I was like, hey, dude, like, I'm not religious. You need to back off. And he would just keep pushing it. And it's like, dude, like, seriously, like, this is getting old. Just back off. It's not my thing. Like, I've had my falling out. I'm sure one day I might find my way back to it. But you shoving a pocket Bible down my throat isn't going to speed the process up. But he's been extremely blue-pilled. So he's been posting a lot of pro-Biden propaganda lately. A lot of, oh, these people are anti-vaxxers and COVID things and all this stuff. But he posted something that really kind of raised my eyebrows. So when Joe Biden called Vladimir Putin a killer, and Putin essentially said, you know what? I feel like we have a misunderstanding, Joe Biden and I, and perhaps we should just have a televised live feed conversation, he and I, so we can, just talk it out and go to a place of mutual understanding. But I would like for both of our nations to be able to see as well. So not just, a private conversation, but a public conversation. Things where people can go log into Twitter and watch the conversation live. And then Joe Biden didn't respond. His team responded, oh, Biden's much too busy for that. So my friend responded, savage. And it's like, dude, do you think that's savage? Or do you think Joe Biden would literally soil his pants because he would forget who he's talking to? He would forget which country he's in. He would forget who the big guy is. Or would the threat of Vladimir Putin exposing Hunter Biden's unscrupulous business dealings in Russia be a threat to the big guy? So imagine that if Joe Biden had an open communication channel with Vladimir Putin with all the world to see, and Vladimir Putin said, so how did your son like that $10 million check? Did you receive your 10%, big guy? And then the same thing with I do horrible accents. I don't even know why I did that. But then if he had that same conversation with Xi Jinping, and they basically said, oh, your son still owns 10% of that company that we own. And right now that's valued at about $10 billion. What's your cut, Mr. President? It's like 10%, right? So you'll be receiving $1 billion when we decide to sell off your son's share. But by the way, we will only allow your son to sell that share as long as you don't condemn what's going on with the Uyghurs, as long as you don't challenge us on the world stage, as long as you don't do X, Y, or Z, which would make Joe Biden look corrupt because he is. So that's why Joe Biden doesn't want to have these public conversations, because it's going to expose his corruption. From Newsweek, Representative Ruben Gallego wants vets in Capitol riot to lose benefits as military faces rise in extremism. I thought this guy was not a veteran. He is a veteran. He's a fat reservist Marine. Well, at least now he's fat. When he was a Marine, he wasn't. But this is BS on so many levels. Democratic Arizona Representative Ruben Gallego wants any former military members who participated in the January 6th Capitol riots to be stripped of their veterans' benefits. His request comes as the U.S. military has begun examining the rise of extremism within its ranks. In a Friday letter addressed to the nation's top military secretaries, Gallego cited an NPR report stating that nearly 20% of 140 insurrectionist arrestees were either military veterans or retirees. So I would say this. A lot of veterans are fingerprinted because they have security clearances. A lot of them are in databases because they have security clearances. So they're easier to find. So don't push that narrative. Many of the veterans and service members who attack their own government actively and enthusiastically enjoy special benefits given to them by their fellow citizens. Insurrectionists should not enjoy benefits they no longer deserve. Veterans are typically given taxpayer-funded benefits, including access to a disability compensation, educational assistance, cheaper healthcare options, vocational opportunities, and state programs that reward their service, Gallego noted. Gallego sent similar letters to the Department of Veterans Affairs, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, and Attorney General. The military newspaper Stars and Stripes reported. So this is BS, because why would you do this? Why? Unless they were actively involved in the violence, because one of the people who were arrested, he was on camera literally picking up trash, trying to clear people out of the Capitol so the police can secure the Capitol. Yet they're trying to strip him of his benefits. So having done a stupid thing doesn't negate the 20 years of service that you've done. So if you've earned a retirement check, if you've earned your disability pension, right? If you've lost a leg in combat, or you're earning 80% disability through the VA for your time in combat, that Capitol protest shouldn't negate that. Those are two separate things. Unless you go to jail for that, then it's two separate things. First of all. Second of all, it's being pushed by a veteran, which is disturbing. Third of all, we have evidence of agent provocateurs, right? You have CNN hired somebody to break into the Capitol, or excuse me, let me adjust my words. They hired somebody who had broken into the Capitol, threatened people with a knife, threatened to burn down the Capitol, and threatened to do damage to the Capitol. He was a Democrat. He was an outside agitator. Like I said, groups of people tend to be stupid. They tend to follow a charismatic person. Especially when the Capitol Police are just opening the doors to the Capitol, it's going to be real hard to basically charge a lot of these people with anything beyond trespassing, because when the doors are opened, and I would like to see these trespassing charges stick, because again, if I'm walking through the door and a police officer's holding it for me and they say, I don't agree with what you're protesting, but I agree with your right to protest. And they don't say, you need to get out of here. You're not allowed to be. They don't say that. And those videos of the people going in through the back, you have the violent people in the front, but you have the peaceful people in the back, just walking in, staying within the ropes. I would argue entrapment, and then I would countersue the federal government for basically entrapping all those people. Basically, you opened the door, you allowed me inside, and now you're kicking in my door, you're pointing guns at my children. This happened. And for what? For walking through a door that you held open for me? No, you can go screw yourself. It's the antithesis of democracy. And now they're threatening veterans, because veterans are one of the biggest threats to a totalitarian government, especially the United States, because now you have a war that has gone on for 20 years. 20 years Americans have been in combat. So you have 20 years worth of veterans. You have 20 years worth of combat veterans. You have 20 years worth of support veterans that still know how to shoot a rifle, still know how to kick down doors, still know first aid, still know how to move under fire. So if a totalitarian government were to decide to have a fascistic takeover, they would have to deal with we the people, and that frightens the government. That frightens reservists like Mr. Gallego. Weak people who couldn't handle it. And instead gets fat and runs into the government. From the Hill, Taliban warns of reaction if U.S. doesn't withdraw by May deadline. I covered this a couple weeks ago where Joe Biden is basically considering pulling out of the agreement of the U.S. pulling out of Afghanistan by May. The agreement made between the Trump administration and the Taliban. And the Taliban is going to attack American forces if they're there beyond May 1st. And if they're there beyond May 1st and they get attacked, guess what Joe Biden's going to have to do? He's going to have to double, triple, quadruple our troop presence. And it's just going to basically just reignite that war. It's going to be real good for Raytheon stocks. I'm so glad that Mr. Lloyd Austin is our Secretary of Defense, and that Raytheon is producing the missiles to kill those brown kids. The Taliban warned the United States on Friday that there will be a reaction from the insurgent group should Washington not follow through on a May 1 deadline for the withdrawal of its troops from Afghanistan. The warning, which the Taliban issued at a press conference in Moscow, came a day after their negotiators met for Russian-led peace talks with senior Afghan government officials. They should go, Taliban negotiation team member Sohail Shaheen told reporters, adding that if U.S. troops stay past May 1st, it will be a kind of violation of the agreement. That violation would not be from our side. Their violation will have a reaction. We hope that this will not happen, that they withdraw, and we focus on the settlement, peaceful settlement of the Afghan issue. The U.S. has been at war in Afghanistan since the 9/11 terrorist attack launched by al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden while he was based in the country. The subsequent American invasion overthrew the Taliban in Kabul, and U.S. forces have remained there ever since. Washington officially has about 2,500 troops remaining in the country, a number former President Trump drew down to in his final weeks in office. And that's a lie. They have an extra 1,000 troops that are off the books. They're attached to the CIA, the State Department, all these other fringe little groups, and then they have these about 1,000 special forces attached to them. So there's probably about 3,500 troops in country. Under an agreement with the Taliban, the Trump administration hastily made last year, all U.S. troops are to leave by May 1st should the Taliban uphold certain commitments, such as re-entering peace talks with the Afghan government and committing to ensure that the country is not used by terrorist groups to plan or carry out attacks on the U.S. or its allies. So you already have Iraq threatening U.S. interest on U.S. soil. And now you're trying to screw over the Taliban? Dude, what do you think is going to happen? This is bananas. This sort of short-sightedness by the Biden administration. You can see the short-sightedness of his immigration policy happening at the southern border as we speak. I did a video of this earlier today. And they're going to be short-sighted again with this Taliban policy, and it's going to lead to more deaths of Americans. American troops in theater, and possibly Americans in the United States if they decide to basically perform acts of terror in the United States. Iran is flexing, threatening USS Cole-style attacks in Washington, D.C. What do you think the Taliban is capable of within the borders of the United States? I don't know, but it won't end up well. That's for sure. So that's going to be it for today, folks. Unless the world catches on fire, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.